Today is what I'm going to call day zero. This is where I establish a bit of a baseline. This won't be a long video or a heavy emotional day. This is just giving an update about where things are before I start the really hard and heavy work. I'm a lot more nervous about this video than I was the first one. At least in that introductory video, long and rambling though it was, I had a good idea of what I wanted to convey. This is much more organic and unknown to me, so please be patient and give me a little bit of grace. So, updates. Right now, we are living apart. I'm staying at the house in Arlington, and he's staying at the apartment in Fort Worth. He's been to the house for one night since moving out on Sunday. That was 2 nights ago, and it was a really good night. We ordered dinner in. We watched a movie called The Unforgivable. Really great movie. I thought it'd be a little bit heavy for, just our night together, but what an amazing movie. And we talked and talked. There was a makeout session, maybe a little bit more than a makeout session. And we talked and talked, and it was really great. The next morning was a little bit weird and awkward because I was going to work and he was going to go back to his space, and neither one of us are really like morning people. I'm especially not a morning person. But we navigated that just fine. I'm a little nervous because I'm supposed to stay at his new place tonight. I've only been there once so far, and that was Sunday, the final day of his moving out, when he called and asked me to come over to help put his couch together. I'm going to break the gay stereotypes here. I'm actually really handy and really good at doing stuff like that. So, great. So he invited me to come over and help, and it was a little bit awkward and anxiety-inducing for me because I wasn't sure I was ready to see his space that he was setting up for that part of his life without me. So when I first got there, didn't help that it was raining, and I ended up being drenched in rain trying to get into the building. It was a little weird at first, so I focused on the task at hand, which was putting the couch together, and he just, was trying to give me the mental space, but also trying to be really supportive. And then after we put the couch together, we moved some of the pieces of furniture around, and then we sat on the couch and we talked for a while, and that part was good. It was good to talk, but honestly, it was really kind of hard to see the space that he's setting up as his space for his recovery. Interestingly, he's now started referring to that as our space and not his space, which is also kind of an adjustment of me getting used to shifting my mindset about the fact that because we are not separated, we are a couple who is living apart. So now we're looking at our house and our apartment, although I'm really having to work to shift my view to it being our apartment space. I have no problem with the our house space, but the our apartment space, that's a mind shift for me because I didn't choose that. I didn't tour it. I didn't set it up. I'm not on that lease. So that's a bit much. But I'm navigating as best I can. I'm really nervous about tonight. He's asked me to stay the night tonight. He said it's totally okay if that's too much being in this new space. And I really appreciate him giving me the grace for that. So that's nice, and we'll see how it goes. So fingers crossed. Work-wise, I have been off work for this entire week. Been part of last week, and I'll be off for all of next week. I am taking time away from professional caretaking to focus on some personal caretaking. This is a really hard thing for me because so much of my identity and so much of my sense of worth and sense of confidence is tied up in my professional competence. I spent a lot of years going to school to learn to do the thing. I spent a lot of years getting a practical experience to do the thing. I spent a lot of years trying to specialize in things that I wanted to do to be really great at my job. So taking time away from that feels very not good to me. I don't want to say it feels like, professional incompetence, because it's not. I am not professionally incompetent, but it feels like just not good. I feel like I should be able to handle this better without taking this time away. And I know that's irrational. My rational brain says this is absolutely the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for me. It's the right thing to do for the people around me. My irrational brain, which sometimes can take over like it does for all of us, says, wow, if you were better at your job, if you were better trained, if you were a better human, you wouldn't have to do this. So right now I'm forcing my rational brain to really fight hard to overtake the irrational side of things. Healthcare professionals in general, and especially therapists, are really great at giving advice and giving direction and giving guidance, and we're really shitty about following it. So I'm trying to give myself a lot of grace there. My doctor also really supported me taking this time off, because when I saw him last week to get started on some medications, because I knew that was my next best decision. Well, my blood pressure and heart rate were really, really, really high, in the range of what they call hypertensive crisis. I don't remember the exact numbers, but the second reading, after it had already come down a little bit, was 186 over 120 something, which is really high. And my pulse was over 140. Normally, my blood pressure is about 110 over 60, and my resting pulse is about 60. I'm not a generally healthy person. I struggle with food issues and weight issues, and I don't run anymore, and body image issues. So I'm not healthy. I'm not the bastion of health. But generally, I've not had problems with blood pressure or heart rate. So I know it's situational, and my doctor knows it's situational. But he did put me on propranolol, which is a beta blocker for blood pressure and for heart rate and for anxiety, and sometimes used to treat migraines. Temporary solution, but so far it seems to be working. No shame in saying he also put me on an antidepressant and an anxiety medication. The anxiety medication is definitely tamping down the anxiety I'm having. The antidepressant, with most antidepressants, it takes 3 to 4 weeks before you really start to feel much of a difference. Already, I'm starting to feel better. I know it's too soon for the real effects of the medication. So I'm attributing it to partly the medication starting to kick in and do its thing, but also partly because I'm coming to a place where I want to work on some things, and I'm starting to get myself in the mindset to do that, and that just feels good. I've made this decision to focus on my health and focus on my well-being, and to do the things that I've needed to do for a long time, and it feels good to just know that I'm taking those steps. As hard as they're going to be, and as unknown as the outcome is to me right now, I think that's really helping boost my mood a lot, so I'm staying positive with that. Got some ups and downs. Last night was a really rough night for me. It's just too quiet in my house. There's a lot of quiet there when it's just one person, and on the one hand, I know that's good for me because I need to be in that space to give me time to heal and time to think and reflect and grow and process and just live in my emotions for a bit. On the other hand, it's really hard. It's really uncomfortable. It'd be really easy for me to find things to do every night to distract myself, go hang out with friends, go do anything other than being in that space. But I'm trying really hard to sit in that uncomfortable space, because that's where I need to be right now, and I recognize that I need to be in that space, but it's hard. As I said in the introductory video, one of the things I've struggled with is eating issues, and right now I'm really uncomfortable in my body because this is probably the heaviest I've ever been, and binge eating disorder has been a thing I've really struggled with for the last few years. By that I mean probably the last 10 years. And I binged last night, and I hated myself for it, and it just felt awful. And I don't just mean physically uncomfortable, because I'm to a point now where I can no longer do the purge cycle. I have damaged my throat enough that it is almost impossible for me to induce vomiting. This is not the point to insert any gay-themed jokes about gag reflex. Try to resist that urge as much as you can, although I certainly get it. But I can't make myself vomit anymore. And so the binge feels even worse because I'm stuck with it. And that was really hard last night. So last night I was really, really, really hating myself. And I had to live in that space. And I had to give myself grace to be in that space and to reflect on those feelings and think about why I feel the way I feel and why that was my go-to reaction last night. I haven't done that in a long time. It's been many, many months since I binged. And everything felt great yesterday. I was on an upswing yesterday, but knowing my propensity to self-sabotage when things are going well, in that regard, makes perfect sense why I did what I did. So that's the thing I'm going to be working on and thinking through. And part of that's going to be the interventions that I'm doing. As I mentioned before, I put together this workbook. It's actually this binder with these tabs for various things like addiction and self-worth and identity development and emotional well-being, relationship goals, just things to really help me understand myself and help me understand what I want in my life for me and what I want that to look like when it includes other people. And by other people, I don't just mean him, I mean all of the other relationships in my life. My family, my friends, my clients, the people in my community, people that I do volunteer things with. Really want to get a better sense of what all of that looks like. And I think this binder of all of these activities is really going to help me get there. These are activities that I have had my clients do for years. So I'm going to try it for myself. I've also got some books that I'm reading through right now, and they are both informative, but they also have a lot of activities. And I like anything that's both informative and activity driven, because then it makes me really put some things into perspective and into action. So that's always really more helpful for me. And I'm also going to be doing a lot of journaling. I have a funny relationship with journaling. For years, I told clients to journal because it's a thing we're taught to tell people to do. And we talk about the benefits of it. We talk about all the things that you get out of it, why you should do it, how you should do it. And I never did it myself. That was total bullshit. I really did. Therapy confession. I thought journaling was this total waste of time, bullshit activity, even though I have been telling people to do it for years. I started doing it myself about a year ago, and it was like this aha moment. Like a light bulb went off, and for the first time I got it. I got the benefit. So I'm going to really lean into that and do a lot more of the journaling to help me think through some things and also know what I need to work through when I'm working with other professionals. So that is a bit of a brief update for today. Tomorrow is the first day of my real work. I'm hoping this afternoon and tonight goes well at his place. I'm trying to be very positive oriented about this as we both stay focused on what our goals are individually and together. Not always the easiest mindset to have with the things that we're working through, but I'm nervous and excited about tonight. So we will see how it goes, and I will be back tomorrow.